It's 6:30 p.m. Right now, if you were getting into an ambulance in Fentress County, Tennessee, you would get to the hospital at 7:25.
If you're in a rural area like this and you lose time, it's life or death.
Hospitals in rural counties are shutting down, turning these buildings into ghost towns.
When I started in nursing 33 years ago, you didn't hear about hospitals closing.
The ones still open are being overwhelmed with patients.
It seems like people are getting a lot sicker a lot quicker.
Time is running short.
This is a life and death situation.
Do you think someone's going to die because that hospital closed?
The potential is very high.
News Channel 5 has spent the past year examining how Tennesseans are affected and searching for hope.
I just purchased Cumberland River Hospital. I feel like it's my calling.
This is Emergency at the ER, a News Channel 5 documentary.
Some people call this a crisis. Some people say it's just the changing nature of healthcare.
But as more and more of Tennessee's rural hospitals shut down, people are getting sicker. Communities are being devastated and lives are being lost.
Tonight, we take a closer look at what's causing the problem, the permanent damage it's doing to our poorest counties, and some new ideas that are bringing hope.
Here now is Chris Conti.
They are gone and never coming back. Lifelines that for decades, generations were the heartbeat of rural Tennessee. Their absence has left an open wound where emergency care once was. And it's hard to tell if there's any way to stop the bleeding. If these walls could talk, if they had a voice, if they could tell you what they've seen.
It's the loss of small town hospitals.
Beyond the darkness that consumes these walls now, there was once light.
You know, we weren't saviors in the ER. We were stabilizers.
How many lives were saved here? How many lives were lost?
We want the hospital back.
If these walls could talk, they might tell you what they long for the most are the people.
I truly figured that one day while at work, I'd just drop dead in the hall at the hospital. You know, that's how I was going to leave here.
Karen Cooper's life took an unexpected turn back in June.
Well, I wouldn't say lonely, it's just different.
Her days are now spent crisscrossing the Cumberland Plateau as an in-home hospice nurse. Some days the road she's on provides a painful reminder of where she's come from.
That single building has held so much happiness, you know, and so much sadness. It's got its own heartbeat. It's got its own power in there.
For the better part of 3 decades, Karen Cooper devoted her life to the emergency room at Jamestown Regional Medical Center, a hospital that had been the lifeline of Fentress County.
But if you came to our ER, we were going to get you out of there alive. If it was God's will at all, we were going to make you leave there alive.
Karen Cooper was not here on March 1st of 1960 when the hospital's first patient was admitted. But she was here on June 13th of 2019 when the last patient, along with every single doctor and nurse, left for a final time.
We were all there and waiting on 7 o'clock. And 7 o'clock came and we made a circle and we each prayed for the facility and for the county, for the patients, and we left.
When the plug was pulled on Jamestown Regional, 120 dedicated healthcare professionals lost their jobs in an instant.
Also included in your packet is some information about adult education.
The Department of Labor and Workforce Development was called in to help.
Folks used to call food stamps, which is now called SNAP benefits.
All that aside, these nurses knew the hospital was on the brink of closure. But listen to how desperately they tried to keep it open.
We were buying stuff for the patients in the ER. We were going to Walmart and buying cups so they could take their pills, and buying snacks so we could give them to people who had low blood sugar.
That is how vital these rural hospitals are. And in a place where the median income hovers around $32,000, Jamestown Regional was the county's largest employer.
I think it's tragic. I don't understand how people can overlook the magnitude of the rural healthcare facilities.
This story, though, is not just about the jobs. It is about what's happening across Tennessee. When the only emergency room within a 45-mile radius shuts down.
It was just right over there in the middle of the field, so.
Haley Stockton does not need hypotheticals to know that lives are on the line here.
Because they just needed a place for the helicopter to land.
When her 75-year-old grandmother had a stroke last week, Haley called 911. An ambulance picked up Lottie Crouch. There was no hospital in Jamestown to take her to, no doctors within an hour's drive. So this field in the middle of Fentress County became an emergency room.
There was nowhere for her to go. There was nowhere for her to go. She had the ambulance and that was it.
When an air evac helicopter arrived, paramedics and park rangers handed Lottie off.
We weren't entirely sure if she was alive.
Precious time was ticking away.
She wasn't moving, she wasn't talking. And this place where I grew up will never be the same for me again.
With her condition so serious, Lottie Crouch was flown to a hospital in Knoxville. From the time her stroke started until the time she saw a doctor, 2.5 hours had passed.
I just kept saying, please God, because we didn't know if she was going to make it.
This is 127. This is our main thoroughfare through Fentress County.
When Lottie Crouch was loaded into an ambulance, she was cared for by one of Micah Dunford's paramedics.
You're putting the same amount of calls in twice the length.
He serves as the Director of Ambulance Services for Fentress County. With no hospital, they are now the first and only line of defense when there's an emergency.
Do you think someone's going to die because that hospital closed?
The potential is very high.
Here's why he says that. Anytime someone in Fentress County calls 911, they can either be driven to Cookeville or Crossville. On a good day, that's a 55-minute drive one way. The county can only run 5 ambulances at a time, and it takes them an hour to get back after dropping off one patient.
So there have been times when every ambulance is out on a call.
Every crew is out on a call.
That has to be a little scary.
It really is, and it's scary for us.
Before Jamestown Regional closed, the average call time for one patient was 70 minutes. Now, because of the drive, EMTs here spend an average 132 minutes per call.
132 minutes per call.
Yeah.
That might as well be a lifetime.
That's a lot. Where does this patient need to go? Where do I need to take them? And how long is it going to take me to get back in case there's another call to be made?
Micah's other concern are the first responders here, who are working harder, longer shifts. And in the back of their minds, the constant reminder that when someone is in critical condition, backup from nurses and doctors at Jamestown is no longer just 15 minutes away.
A lot of people in the county are scared. They're kind of on edge.
Since the emergency room shut down, homes have started to go unsold. Hard to convince a new family to move here when the nearest hospital is 45 miles away. Enrollment in the school system dropped by 40 students as well, all because one hospital closed. Hundreds more across the country are suffering the same fate, lifelines that are on life support.
It makes you sad and scared for the future, and it makes you furious too.
When the reality of healthcare in rural America is that farm fields are now serving as emergency rooms, Haley Stockton is left to wonder.
If you're in a rural area like this and you lose time, it's life or death.
Doctors were able to save Lottie Crouch, but the damage from her stroke is irreversible. Damage that could have been prevented if Jamestown Regional was still open.
If we would have had a hospital, then things could have been a lot differently, and now I don't know if my grandmother's going to ever be able to walk on her own again, and we're just lucky she's alive.
If these walls could talk, if they could tell you what they have seen, that they were more than just walls, they were the foundation of Fentress County.
Are they fully comprehending the magnitude of this problem?
I don't think so, because if they did, surely somebody would do something.
Coming up, cause and effect.
It seems like people are getting a lot sicker a lot quicker.
And later,
It's a huge challenge for me to try to bring it back.
when emergency at the ER continues.